Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. Tonight we are checking out another nostalgic movie, for me at least. That is the Guillermo del Toro movie from 1997, Mimic. Very insect-centric movie. And it's been a while since I had...
Insect.
Well, we will unpack all that. It's been years since I sat down and watched this thing. I think I put it on in the background before, but this time when I watched it, I just watched it, and it was a different experience. Definitely pulled some nostalgia. But AJ, had you seen this before?
I think I saw it when I was younger, but I really don't remember much about it other than some of those underground scenes. As I said in the last one, I always confuse the mimic species and the relic as one movie. And I'm like, why is this person on it? And I was watching this. It's like, isn't Forrest Whitaker in this? It's like, no, Forrest Whitaker's in Species.
Yes, Forrest Whitaker's in Species. You do have Charles S. Dutton, though.
Yes, who's good. Who's very good.
Who's great. I have watched all those movies recently. And I agree. I used to lump them all in, and I still lump them in a certain way. But having watched them, man, is there quality differences between them. Species sticking out as one of the lesser quality movies. And maybe we'll get into that at some point. Aaron, what about you? You were a fan of this movie before.
Yeah,
right?
I loved this movie when I was younger. I thought it was a great movie. I haven't watched this. It's probably been maybe 5 or 6 years since I've seen this. Now, I had a busy week, so I had to watch this while cooking, while cutting my hair, while doing all this other stuff. But I know the story. I know the movie pretty well, so it was still pretty easy to be engaged and know what was going on. I kind of got a different vibe watching it this time, though.
Oh, yeah?
I don't know. Maybe it's because I've seen, other Guillermo del Toro films since then, but I picked up on some things that I didn't in the past. And I think we can get into some of that later, but I looked at this movie a little bit different this time, but I really enjoyed it still. It's a fun movie.
Yeah. I enjoyed the hell out of this. And we just did The Relic, 2 weeks ago or whatever, and this is some similarities to that movie, but I think it has a lot more intensity and is in general a better movie, at least in its execution. I'll say that. So Mimic is about a disease that comes along in a very Terry Gilliam-esque scene, which was fucking awesome.
Yeah, right? It's like 12 Monkeys right there.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. But it's essentially like a polio that affects children, kills them rather quickly, and instead of trying to find a vaccine, or in their unwillingness or unableness to find some sort of vaccine, what they do is they attack the disease transfer system, which is cockroaches, right?
Yeah.
And so they play God and they tamper with a new species, and then it becomes a monster, and they get chased around these subway tunnels, and hijinks ensue. That is Mimic.
Pretty much.
This movie parallels this year so much between the pandemic we had in the past, or more recently, and then recently we've been releasing these mosquitoes that are engineered to take out mosquitoes that are spreading various diseases. So it's kind of a parallel for what we're doing nowadays. We're playing God. We're doing these things, and I'm kind of shitting my pants. I hope we don't create these massive mosquitoes that come along and start mimicking us.
I mean, it's a classic horror storyline, Frankenstein or whatever.
Frankenstein.
Playing God and then reaping your whatever. Your karma? Not karma. What's the word I'm looking for there? But hubris, I guess.
I was gonna say sowing your oats, but that's
sowing
still
That's
not
a judgment
reaping
on
what you sow.
right?
Yeah, a judgment on mankind. And then I watched a interview with Guillermo del Toro and Mira Sorvino where they were talking about this movie back when it came out, and I thought it was really interesting because Guillermo del Toro was adamant. He said something along the lines of, "I only want to do horror films. I love horror films." And the guy who was interviewing pushed back and was like, what about comedy? What about dramas? What about romance movies? I'm not a big horror guy. And Guillermo del Toro phrased it like, well, I think you can do those elements still in a horror movie. And then to go and see Shape of Water, it's like, yes, he did. He obviously brings many layers to his movies, which is why he is such a prolific filmmaker. But this was his first American feature debut. Obviously, Kronos came out before this, which is a
budget.
fantastic movie. Big budget. And we
Lots
were
of
going
messes.
to. Well, this was a movie with the Harvey and Bob Weinstein Company. I believe this is where, or not too long after this, is where Mira Sorvino was kind of canceled by the Harvey Weinstein because he's a dirty sex pervert. And he didn't go along with that.
Well, did you know this was originally supposed to be a trilogy of films, and this was going to be one story within the trilogy?
Well, there is now
a bunch of sequels, but I don't think there are any.
Yeah,
I mean, it was going to be an anthology movie, and this was going to be one story.
Like from its intention, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there are sequels, and I don't know if they are what they originally intended. But we'll get into this as well. I know the ending was changed from the original ending and from the written ending in the script.
Yeah.
So, yes. Mimic. Let's get into it. AJ. Did you like this movie?
Yeah, I liked it. I really love like Guillermo del Toro's work because he has such a love for fantasy, and he brings fantasy elements into his horror elements, and it just like makes such like a fun world, and his lighting is so thought out.
So good.
Like he lights so well, and he takes the time to put that little light up in the drain pipe, to have it shimmer down, and like, or the water reflection on the face. Like,
look at that shot.
Yeah, it's so just good. Like comparative to like Relic, where everything's just dark, which is fine. It's a look, but like I really love this because it feels more fantasy-esque with the lighting, and the way it's developed.
I think a staple of a lot of, and if not most of Guillermo del Toro movies, is the gothic nature that he tries to bring to his settings, which, like, even in this library, it's like, okay, you captured this in a way where it does look gothic. And going back and watching the movie again, like, all that underground stuff is certainly, like,
the giant cross on the wall.
The circular, like, dome-like ceiling and stuff. It's just all inspired in a way, visually. But those are the like important details of the movie that aren't in the script, and I think the script is what I have some of the issues with. But Aaron, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of go along the same route. This is definitely one of those late '90s darker movies, like people mentioned Seven, and we watched The Relic a few weeks ago, and that was super dark. But it's just that sort of, I don't know, it's just between the lighting and, like you said, the scenery is just so awesome. Like, yes, it's a underground tunnel beneath the city, but it's just what they had to work with was just amazing. And I think it's at times it feels claustrophobic. At times it feels almost adventure-esque because you're in this like place people haven't been in 50 years. And it's like, it's really neat. And it's not like scary at times. And then other times it's very claustrophobic and terrifying, but just the consistency of it is just amazing to me.
And like those themes of like you were talking about, it's not always scary, and sometimes there's like really warm moments, like where they're trying to have the child and their connection as like a couple. Like there are these things in between that like just make the story more just better, because like as you said,
it
adding different elements to
it.
And it adds more elements to like your typical horror movie.
It's it definitely enriches the story. I mean, when you care about a character, it makes everything better, right? I do think some of that baby stuff is kind of the weakest part of this movie, though. It feels forgotten at parts to me.
I thought some of their chemistry, honestly, was a little off, and even some of their acting in these scenes was a little like, not quite there.
It's I don't quite. When I watched this again, I was like, this husband is kind of a dick, and he's kind of a dick to everyone.
Yeah,
and. Like, even Charles S. Dutton is, like, the only guy to stand up to him. And he mentions, he's like, you need to watch how you speak to people.
Yeah.
Because this guy comes off as, like, this entitled kind of prick.
Yeah.
And he seems a bit controlling of Mira Sorvino's character at times, where he, like, steps in while she's talking and things.
Yeah.
Why is this in the movie, though? Like,
yeah, and just, like, even at the beginning of the movie, he treats her as, like, his discovery. Like, oh, I found this scientist, and I'm going to introduce the media to her, and it was me who found her. It's like,
so some narcissism.
Yeah, like, come on, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of got like a vibe like there's some sort of other subcontext that I'm just not picking up on. you know, a lot of Del Toro Guillermo's films have like things about like child abuse or like family issues
Sure,
and all
yeah.
sorts of things that are mixed into the movies in a really great way. This one I felt like there was something that I was supposed to be picking up on, but I'm not sure what it is either. He does seem like a dick. I wasn't really impressed with his acting very much. I don't know if it's just the way he speaks. There's just something weird about his character to me.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just that he's a dick and I don't like him.
Yeah, I don't know, but those story elements stuck out to me as either like not fleshed out, or it kind of felt like maybe things were cut or something.
Yeah, like problematic issues with the filming.
Well,
I mean,
yeah, you want to talk about that, AJ?
What I do know is I think they had lots of problems making this. Like the Weinsteins were constantly interfering with his production and trying to change how the movie was going to go. So it's like, from what I understand, it was like one of these like nightmare productions because of that.
Well,
Yeah, I read that they were trying to constantly make it like scarier. They were telling him it's not scary enough. It's not scary enough. And that's kind of where this time watching, I could see like the film sort of going in two different directions sometimes, where I could see it becoming more like a scarier version of like a Pan's Labyrinth or something like that. And then they throw in these really, really gross or scary horror elements that can almost seem over the top at times.
yeah, I mean, in that interview, he acknowledged that this was a B movie. He acknowledged that this idea and script is a B movie monster movie, but he strived to produce a A tier movie because of the budget and because of the visual execution on this stuff. What I'm saying, I think he knocked that shit out of the park.
Oh yeah.
Totally.
But with those like missing scenes, that their characters become a little bit disjointed for me and weird. I get the whole like she wants, like maybe I don't. I got that he wanted to be a father. Sometimes it felt like maybe she was into it, but sometimes she wasn't.
Yeah.
And then
Think of the context though. Like they had just lived through this past couple years where like kids were dying because of this horrifying
there.
disease.
Yeah, that's a
right?
good
So
point. I didn't think
kind of
about
that
that.
fear element of like, I really want to have a child, but what's going to happen to them? Like, is this thing going to come back? Like there's some hesitation.
And she's
maybe?
also just like a workaholic. She's at the lab
That
at
too.
night and he's upset about it. You're at the lab like every night at like 12 o'clock working. Like she is like dedicated to her career over everything else.
So it may seem controlling, but at the same time, maybe it's just his approach may suck, but maybe he's just like, look, you're not part of this relationship if you're working all the time.
well, you
Try to give him a
up,
little latitude.
Yeah, when you bring up that the disease, how it affected children, I forgot about it by that point, because it's not what the movie it like glosses over that. And it's just like
very quickly.
The reason for tampering with the bugs.
That's a good point. They didn't bring that back into the story more. That could have been a good thing to do. Like, like
could have just been like
more.
one scene between the father or her and him about like their fear because of this disease. That happened
or
before,
even like the kid she engaged with that goes hunting for animals could have had this virus or something, and it has issues because of it. Like, or that kid, for instance. Like, I was kind of shocked because we talked about this in the Railhawk of like the adult monster movie. This is very much an adult monster movie, and like there's kids killed on screen. Like that's pretty crazy for its time, I was shocked. I was like, oh my god, you would never see that today.
No, that one kid gets straight up Dario Argento too with fucking razor.
That's what I mean. I was like shocked that scene. I was like, oh my god, like this would never happen today in like a theater movie.
It's very dark. And that was one of the complaints I think about the original ending. So I have a couple facts here about the multiple endings, but the original cut that I believe was shot, and I think I tried to find it, but at some point it doesn't seem like it's on the internet anymore, but the king of the Judas breed, the male, isn't killed by the train, but rather appears as a silhouette form back into a human mimic, and he steps out of the shadows to reveal that he's looks like a perfectly human nude male. So he no longer looks like a bug.
So that helped explain that scene where they show like the egg sac and it looks like it's zooming in on like a human embryo inside the egg sac.
That would make sense.
That kind of ties that together then, because I was like, are they trying to show us that this is where they're headed? Like they're gonna look like real humans before he blows them all up.
That was the original written ending. I'm sorry.
Okay.
The original filmed ending was was different as well. So the characters still meet up at the end at the Grand Central, but are surrounded by clicking noises of the insects, and suggesting that the Judas breed roaches have successfully infiltrated the human population. So it's like a nihilistic
like
ending.
Yeah, that's the one he
Body
wanted,
snatchers,
right?
sort
Yeah.
of.
Yeah, that was the one he originally filmed, and test audiences wanted a happier ending. So of course we bow down to the uncreative people and allow a group of money people say we need to make it different, as opposed to listening to the creative voice.
The film is
behind the
so
movie.
dark. You could go there, and I think it would really work.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it is nihilistic though.
Yeah, I don't mind that though.
No, I don't necessarily either. I do feel like
It'll keep you up at night for sure.
the ending the ending just turns into the Hollywood ending.
Yeah.
We're embracing, and now we've adopted this child because we always wanted a child, and now we have, like, it does make sense and wraps that storyline around with them wanting the child, but it feels forced or dumb or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Him surviving is just bullshit.
It's so dumb. But it's fun, but it's so dumb.
It's so dumb. Yeah. Like, yeah.
Yeah. The water. Water
How does he
saves
get
you.
out? How did he survive that? Everything would be on fire in there when he got out. Like,
And they said they went through the thing like 4 times, and there was no way we could survive.
Yeah,
that.
everything's
and then he comes
burned.
out. Yeah, I'm like,
But
oh,
he walks
okay.
out. Yeah, it's stupid. Do you think this storyline, I know it's based on a short story, but do you think this was influenced by Jurassic Park? Because I kind of get like the life finds a way thing, because the Judas virus
It
was
could be.
meant to
that
die,
part.
but
I know when they fleshed this out to a full script, there was lots of different writers that Camaro was working with. And I found out one of the first ones was actually Steve Soderbergh, who did Traffic. He was like working
even
with
Soderbergh
him.
did.
Yeah, and they just weren't able to click with what they wanted, and he went through 2 different writers before he found the guy who he finished it with.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other part of the plot line that I kind of think it's so cheesy is this kid who communicates with the insects with his spoons.
Yeah.
I think that's what lended it that Guillermo del Toro sort of feel, though, and a lot of times, because you have this character that's sort of, you get a little bit of the fantasy element via that character and his interactions. It is a little clunky at times, I think.
He does like to have kids in these movies like this. I mean, Pan's Labyrinth, obviously, but, Devil's Backbone and stuff.
Yeah.
But, like, there's not enough there either. I get, like, he has to do something weird, because how else is he going to connect with a bug? So his thing is that he clicks the spoons.
Yeah.
But there's no way to sell that where it just doesn't come off as kind of cheesy for me. I don't know.
That's fair.
You also have, like, some bigger actors showing up in this movie, at least nowadays. You
Brolin.
got Josh Brolin showing up.
Yeah.
Pretty brutal
Young.
death sequence. Yeah.
I thought his death was kind of, all right.
I like the way they. I like that sequence. I don't know. I wish you could have saw more. But like, it's tense where he's trying to climb up the thing, and
It felt kind of like something out of like Deep Rising, where it's just a little too maybe clinical for this type of dark movie. You know what I mean? Like, because you don't see what happens to him really. He just starts stops and starts bleeding or whatever. But
I like the
compared
way
to the
it
rest
ends,
of the
though.
scenes, yeah,
How the stuff slams down and it's uncomfortably loud, and then it just sits with that bowl like spinning for
that's
a little
cool.
bit. Yeah.
Who
And then
else
you
do we
have
you have Charles
Norman
Sutton, but
Norman
Norman
Reedus.
Reedus.
in the scene
I
slapping the bass.
didn't
or whatever he
recognize
said.
him at all.
I think this is one of his first movies.
He looks totally different.
Yeah, he's like Well, he's now everybody knows him from The Walking Dead, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
I think
have F. Murray Abraham as well.
yes,
He plays a doctor that works with Mira Sorvino's character, which is Susan Tyler. Yeah.
Yeah, he's in it for some reason.
Yeah, a couple
to
here
provide
and
some
there.
background exposition while
Yeah.
character.
Yeah.
To provide that, like, science has gone too far.
I was cooking
not
while
too
watching
far.
that scene.
Ugh.
I was like, what am I doing here? Yeah.
You got the Charles S. Dutton scene from like Alien 3 where he like rambles, nobody ever gave me that kind of thing, which is great.
Yeah.
And in this, he
Oh,
has
man.
one of those scenes as well. Dude is such a great actor.
He is
I fucking
so
love Charles S.
good.
Dutton.
He's
I was
so
watching-
good.
They have the scene where they're like getting on the train and stuff in that beautiful that underground of space, and I'm watching. I'm like, that's the same scene from Ninja Turtles 2, where they're under the subway, It is. It's actually just like a
What?
closed subway from the 1940s in New York that
awesome.
people film in. Yeah, it's in a bunch of movies.
That's
I
cool.
thought that's pretty funny because I recognized like the glass windows. It's like, this is from Ninja Turtles. Like,
That scene we just showed with Charles and Sutton getting cut. I love the sequence. I love the way it's shot here, how it cuts that wide.
You get the flash.
That is such a smart thing to do because that's like a transition then. Then you can cut and time has passed. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's such a smart thing to do. And everything's implied there. I love that stuff.
Yeah, but it's not done in a way like a lot of horror movies are, where they're trying to hide the fact that they don't have good practical effects or that they have
everything.
bad CGI etc. It's just used from a stylistic perspective that I think works really well. Kind of transitioning though, there's a lot of good practical effects in this film. There's some cool miniature work, maybe some stop animation, but there's a decent amount of CGI too.
Yeah.
Some of which is not great, but it's of its time. But I think
probably
they
amazing
used
at
it
the
pretty
time.
wisely.
yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting scene.
Yeah. But this plot beat is stupid to me. Like everybody
it's
else gets
trying to chase
immediately
her down.
killed
Yeah,
by the
she just
bugs,
gets picked up.
but she gets picked up and taken to some
Yeah, I thought that was
lair.
kind of silly.
It's because
too.
she's mother.
And it's just that is like hackneyed writing where it's like
Yeah.
we're not
Because
going
she
to
has a
explain
baby.
that and yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was
I'm
trying
sure
to
there
figure
was
out
a
what the-
reason, man. Right.
And then you have Manny, who is the old guy, who is a shoe shiner. Oh, this is the wrong old guy. I wrote it, old man.
Yeah, it's the priest.
But he's like,
Yeah.
It's
He's just
such
like a
an
great
odd
character
character.
actor.
he's great, but he's such an odd character. Like
Guillermo
a shoe
del Toro just
shining
wanted him
guy?
in this
Yeah.
movie. He just wanted him in the movie.
It feels like it's like the 1930s or
Well,
something.
it feels
you know
like
what I mean?
Geppetto and Pinocchio to me.
Sorta, yeah, because he's like really old compared to the young kid, and it's just those two, and he has
Yeah.
it does
He's like
feel that
trying
kind
to
of-
give him the ability to survive because he's not ever going to be able to,
yeah, you're right, because
function in a traditional manner. Like he's going to have a unique life, so he's trying to give him some sort of skill set. But at the same
purpose.
time,
He's trying to
yeah,
give him
purpose in
yeah.
life. Yeah. So I mean, I
Teach
think
him.
he's an admirable character, but he is a little bit cheesy.
Yeah, it's just
Mhm.
it's like I mean, I guess there's still shoe shiners out there today, but it's probably
Not
very
really.
small amount.
It's like the
and,
romanticness of it, like the
Yeah.
romantic of
Like
the
Wall
shoe
Street
shiner.
guys,
Yeah,
those guys can make a shit ton of money doing that.
yeah, but they don't look like this classic old man from like a
No.
fable.
And they're not hanging out in the subway.
no.
Yeah. Now, but that guy's been in a ton of things. Gian.
Yeah, he's very
Giannini?
recognizable.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen him in a bunch of things.
I thought it was funny that they choose to say like the subway was closing because in New York the subway never closes. Like everyone
No, it
exits
closes all the
platform.
time because it's broken as fuck.
I guess that's true.
Or
it's
it's
kind of
flooded.
silly that everyone leaves the subway. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
What did you guys think about like this was a long movie? It seemed
It
like
was
the
pretty long.
relic. Did that bother you, like the length of this thing?
When I was watching it, I got to like 50 minutes in before they even get into the subway, and I didn't realize
Yeah.
it took that long. But I was never bored with this thing.
I think the pacing's really good, personally. I enjoyed it.
I
yeah.
don't know.
Like, it didn't bother me.
The
It is
thing of it-
maybe... No, go ahead.
Well, the thing of it is that's weird is like the way the story is framed. We get like that quick build, like,
Yeah,
okay, this was a disease and and now it's
Yeah.
3 years later. We cut to 3 years later and we see this old man get killed and like a hint of the bug. And then it's like, now we're going to spend 35 minutes explaining what's happening, not to the
Yeah.
audience really, but to the main characters just to get them into this
And
scenario.
to get him up to
Yeah.
speed on things.
Yeah.
Like we can deduce what happened here just from that opening and knowing that this
Yeah.
movie's about killer bugs.
Yeah, I
I
think
also
in
think
order-
like that's. Oh, go ahead, Aaron.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say I also think that's just like a comment on just how stupid people are and human
Yeah.
beings are. It takes us forever to realize until it's like too late. You know, that's how we are as a species. Like, you know, in any scenario, really.
Yeah. It could be some sort of commentary there. But I mean, that is the time in the movie where you should spend building your character arcs and starting them and starting to unpack the characters for the audience so they're attached to them when they are started, like when they're put into danger. And that's
I
what
think
they were
trying
doing,
to
but
get people interested, though. Like
Yeah.
right off the bat, trying to get a little bit of action
Yeah.
going, get people on board with...
For Hollywood purposes, right?
Right, exactly. It's like, I think you could do it without that scene, especially the first one with the preacher. And have
I
it
like
work.
No, but I like that. What I don't want is the scene where the kids bring in the bug and it chases her, like the little bug chases her around her office and stuff. That really adds nothing for me. I don't know. Like this scene,
Yeah.
it goes on and it's like, okay, where are we going with this? The mimic.
Well, this is
large
her
creatures.
discovering that her creation is mutated into something else.
Yeah, I think my frustration with it was, yes, but I already knew that as a
Right.
viewer.
Is it for her benefit as a character, or is it for your benefit as a
right?
viewer?
And like
It's for her
there's
benefit.
It's a balance there, and I feel like there's too much time spent for the first 40 minutes of this movie where it's all for the benefit of the characters and less for the audience to explain. But then completely gloss over the fact of like it picks her up and doesn't kill her like it does everyone else.
Yeah.
Stuff like
that. But is that, I thought that they were going to reveal the reason was because she was pregnant and the creature knew that. And
yeah,
that was some kind of connection, but that never came around. I feel like that was probably like maybe an intention that never got brought to fruition with the movie.
Yeah. I like the creature design though, with the way they do the face and their
Yeah, that was so cool. When she's looking at the photos in the subway.
Yeah, that was nice.
Like to you as a viewer, it's like pretty darn obvious, but you could see as like being in her place that you might not instantly pick up on that. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Mira Sorvino was an Academy Award winner at this time too. She won for Mighty Aphrodite, the Woody Allen movie.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Anything else, guys?
So just the music in this was very interesting. I don't remember picking up quite like this before. There's so many times where it just feels like a very like old school like 50s horror movie, but with like modern production. You know what I mean? It has that really old monster movie vibe sometimes.
Sometimes it felt like Danny Elfman even a little bit.
Oh, maybe, yeah, I could see that too.
Like some Batman-esque kind of over the topness.
Yeah, maybe it's just the amount of like brass or I don't know what it was, but there's something in there that gave it a different vibe that I think it works, but I think you could go with a different direction and have it work too. It's just sort of surprising when you have some of these really dark and horrific scenes, and then you have this more like traditional sounding old monster movie music.
He is a huge monster movie fan. Like he has his house has like all these shrines to all these old monster movie stuff. So it could be like homage to that. I didn't really pick up the music. To me, it was like forgettable string orchestra. It was high quality, but it was like not like stylish or unique in any way. You know what I mean? I don't know. I didn't really pick up on it though.
It was like Hollywood-esque at the time, I think.
Yeah.
I just thought it sounded more old-fashioned and
yeah.
There were scenes I remember when he was like breaking open the pipe. It sounded like Danny Elfman, like Batman music. I was like, oh wow.
I could definitely hear that. Yeah.
Yeah, we should check out the sequels. How many sequels are there?
We should talk about the TV series that Paul Thomas Anderson is making about the Mimic right now.
I saw that.
What?
I saw that like in August of last year. They announced it, but I don't know.
This is what Paul Thomas Anderson's doing? Like, okay. It's like, I don't see that coming.
Yeah.
Is it actually happening, though? I'll believe that
thought
stuff.
so. I Googled it. When I was looking up the movie, it came up in the news. And they like had a thing about him being in it. Or doing it.
Yeah, I guess they're using the original story that it was placed on instead of the movie. But
it was literally like a news article that popped up about it.
Well, how would you do that? You would just sort of drag out the whole thing. Like you go more in depth into like the virus and more in depth.
You could build
into,
up,
like,
a lot longer.
But ultimately, you're going to tell the same story, just in a less condensed format.
Yes, it's still going to end up being. Oh, I would assume it's still end up being killer bugs.
Yeah, that's so cool.
That is cool.
The sets for this
are amazing. Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, Mimic 2. Came out in 2001, and Mimic 3 Sentinel came out in 2003. I can't imagine they're great, but
I definitely saw the second one. I don't remember what it was about, but I think I have 2 and 3.
I thought one of them was like like somebody watching through a window and seeing something else. Like, is that the Hitchcock thing or something?
So it's like what is that? Yeah, what Hitchcock movies? What is that called?
Yes. Okay, so Mimic 3 Sentinel stars film veteran Lance Henrik and takes a departure from the tone of the first two films as a feel similar to Alfred Hitchcock's Rear Window.
Rear Window, that's right.
That's cool.
I think
That might
I've
be
seen some
interesting.
of that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember though.
You know what's a good movie I watched recently was Run on Hulu, and that's very much Hitchcockian, which was, you guys should check that out. It's about this teenager who's like going to college and she's in a wheelchair and her mom takes care of her, and she slowly starts to realize that her mom's giving her like fake medication.
Oh,
It's
horrible.
really dark, and the mother's trying to keep her sick so
Wow.
she can't ever leave the house. It's a really good film. It
And
stars the
Sarah
woman that's
Paulson.
in Ratchet.
Yeah,
Who's
I'm
in
not a
it.
big fan of her.
It's good. It's a good movie. Like, it's very straight Hitchcock psychological message.
What was it called again?
Run.
Oh, Run.
It was
okay.
good. I was like, I really enjoyed it.
Cool.
Yeah, I think if you like The Relic and stuff like that, you probably dig this. But I think this movie stands out a bit more for me from that movie as well, just because I think the direction is really good and it's such a cool looking movie. It feels, I don't know, Relic feels a little bit more generic to me.
Yeah,
This
a little more
feels like it
straight
has
action.
Yeah, this feels like it has more of a soul to it, even though like there's problematic story elements for me at least. They don't ruin the movie, but it gives you that Hollywood ending and stuff that's like, be a little more creative. Which I guess they were. They just weren't allowed to show it.
That was easy, yeah.
Yeah. So, AJ, would you recommend The Mimic?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, like, when we were talking about watching this, like, way back when, or maybe just looking up, I was, like, shocked. I was like, oh, Guillermo del Toro made this movie? I don't remember that. Like, or even connected that, because it just seems like, just from, like, you know, things he's done recently. But it makes sense. I mean, it's a movie to check out if you like, again, if you like monster movies. Like, this is definitely, like, one of the peak ones in the 90s to watch.
Yeah. I mean, we should watch Kronos at some point, too.
Yes.
I'm
And Devil's
game. I've never seen
Backbone,
it.
like, just
Devil's
watch all of
Backbone,
them.
Yeah.
They're all good.
Aaron, would you recommend it?
Yeah, I would. You know, you pointed out some plot inconsistencies or plot points that are kind of stupid, but overall, I'm going to give that a pass too because it is a monster movie. So to me, plot takes sort of a backseat in a lot of ways. The Hollywood ending part is kind of frustrating, given the rest of the movie and the tone of the rest of the movie. But otherwise, I mean, the special effects were good. The scenery, the camera work, the lighting is just phenomenal for a late 90s horror movie like this. So yeah, I really enjoy this film.
This is one of these things you're just not going to get this nowadays for
No.
this kind of budget
Never.
and stuff, and this kind of
Never.
director attached to it. Like, it's just going to be low budget, couple million maybe
Yeah.
movie.
I mean, I don't even think someone like Guillermo could ever make a movie like this and get away with it now. Like, unless you're going to make it on Netflix or something. No
Or
one's
if
gonna
he's
give you money to make
self-financing or
this.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's Mimic. Let us know what you think about Mimic below, and then we will catch you here next time, guys. Goodbye.